They forgot to update the address. Again, I had paid $10,400 for Vanessa's engagement dinner, caterers, decor, lighting, custom champagne tower, everything. I arrived at the venue early, dressed in a tailored navy suit, only to find it empty. Not fashionably late, completely abandoned. No music, no guests, just rows of empty chairs and cold hors d'oeuvres sweating under buzzing fluorescent lights. The silence was louder than any insult they'd ever thrown my way. I checked my phone. 10 minutes past the scheduled start time. That's when the text came in from Mom. Oops, must have sent the old location. Anyway, it's too far to come now. Just head home, sweetie. No apology, no urgency, just a casual dismissal of my time, my effort, my money. I stared at the message. Then I called. Dad answered. Seriously? You didn't check the address again? No greeting, no remorse, just a sigh. Then, God, you're hopeless. I stood alone in the $10,400 rental hall, surrounded by untouched crab cakes, a melting ice sculpture of two swans, and a playlist I'd spent hours curating playing softly over an empty sound system. Vanessa had insisted on a flaming champagne entrance. I paid extra for that too. But there was no flame, no one to cheer, no bride-to-be, just me. At 9:47 p.m., Vanessa finally texted, "Where are you?" As if I had disappeared. As if I was the one who ghosted the celebration. But the real blow didn't land until later that night. Lying on my couch, still in my suit, I opened Instagram. My cousin had posted a boomerang story, everyone cheering. Drinks raised high, streamers flying like fireworks. Dad was in the center, grinning with pride, one arm slung around Vanessa's fiancé. The caption read, "Best party yet. Zero drama. Zero him. Zero him." I blinked. They had moved the entire event, cashed in my planning, erased me, and celebrated the fact that I was no longer in the picture. My name wasn't on the guest list. I had been edited out of my own contribution. That was the moment something snapped, not in rage, but in clarity. Without a word, I opened my laptop, logged into every shared account, Netflix, Spotify, the Apple Family Plan, and froze them. I pulled the full balance from the venue's business account. That included the refundable deposit they had banked on using for Vanessa's honeymoon. At exactly 10:01 p.m., I sent my parting gift, a Dropbox folder set to auto-send to every family group chat. Mom's book club, Dad's golf league, and the church committee they loved to brag about. Inside were screenshots of fake invoices, transactions charged to my cards without consent, and one audio clip of Mom's voice saying, "Just distract him, he never double-checks receipts." I hesitated on that one, not because I had doubts about exposing them, but because I knew it would burn bridges beyond repair. Still, they needed to understand, this wasn't about money anymore. It was about trust, and how they had shattered it. I added a copy of the guest list from the new venue. My name was whited out, literally erased. At 10:03 p.m., my phone lit up. First Mom, then Dad, then Vanessa, then cousins I hadn't spoken to in years. By midnight, I had 74 missed calls. I didn't answer a single one. This wasn't the first time they had pushed me aside, but it was the first time I didn't rush to fix it. For years, I had paid for birthdays, holiday dinners, veterinary bills, family phone plans, even Vanessa's Invisalign and business course that she dropped after 2 weeks. They called it love, said, "It's just this once," or, "We'll pay you back soon." They never did. They never meant to. Looking back, it was all part of a pattern. Every time there was a crisis, I was the wallet they reached for, not the brother they leaned on. They'd smile, toast to family, and send me the check. But when it came time for thanks or inclusion, when it mattered, I was forgotten. Or worse, erased. This dinner was supposed to be my last gift. One final gesture before I bowed out of their circus for good. But they turned it into a statement. We're better without him. So I made one of my own. The restaurant was all white linen and candlelight. The kind of place where forks probably cost more than most of the meals I grew up on. Vanessa had reserved the back terrace, exclusive, curated, picture perfect. She made sure every detail aligned with her aesthetic. She also made sure I wasn't invited. But I came anyway. Dan, her fiancé, was deep in conversation with his parents. My dad was halfway through a glass of wine. And Mom was laughing with a cousin I hadn't seen in over a decade. The table buzzed with low conversation, clinks of silverware, and false pleasantries. No one noticed me, until the waiter approached. "Excuse me, sir," he asked politely. "Are you at the Carter Lane party?" I smiled. "Unfortunately," I replied. Then I walked in, calm, steady, unbothered. A hush fell over the table. Silverware paused midair. A napkin fluttered to the ground. Vanessa's polished smile vanished like fog under sunlight. Her expression twisted. "What are you doing here?" she hissed, stepping forward like she could block me with just her presence. I shrugged, casually glancing around. Thought I'd stop by, say congratulations, see what a $10,400 engagement party looks like, once you subtract the guy who paid for it. Dan's brows drew together in confusion. His father stared, his face hardening. My own dad stood up slowly, as if he thought he still had authority over me. "This isn't the time, Alex," he said through gritted teeth. I turned to him. "You made that decision for me when you told everyone I was zero drama." "Zero him, remember? Best party yet?" His jaw clenched. Vanessa stiffened. "You don't get to just show up and ruin this," she snapped. I let out a quiet laugh. One short, cold breath. "Ruin it? Vanessa, I funded it. Every rose, every glass flute, even the playlist was downloaded from my Apple Music account." I reached into my jacket pocket, pulled out my phone, and opened the screenshots like a seasoned prosecutor presenting evidence. "Exhibit A," I said, holding it up. "This is your email." Then Mom's reply. "Just make sure Alex doesn't find out. Transfer the money from his card and we'll deal with it later." Vanessa turned pale. I looked directly at Dan. "And here's a good one. Your bride-to-be wrote. He's a loser. But his money's good. He won't fight back. He never does." There was a collective gasp. Murmurs rippled across the table. Mom stood, flustered, trying to recover control. Everyone, let's not make this worse," she stammered. I didn't flinch. "Worse? Mom, you helped her." "I read your reply. Of course he'll pay. He always does. And you were right. I did. Right up until this moment." Dan looked like a man watching a building collapse around him, finally realizing he was inside it. I turned back to him. "Tell me, Dan, how much of your honeymoon did you actually pay for? Because that $3 charged to the Maldives villa? That was my card. I didn't say it to be cruel. I didn't raise my voice. I simply stated what no one else ever had. The truth." Vanessa's voice cracked. "You're insane." "No," I said calmly. "I'm just finally awake." Then I tapped the screen again. And in case anyone's still confused, here's a link to the shared drive. Every transaction, every screenshot, every lie, it's all there. Phones buzzed across the table. Notifications lit up like warning signals. No one spoke. They scrolled, read, processed. Dan's father slowly rose from his seat. "Is this true?" he asked, voice low, eyes locked on his son. Dan didn't respond. He just sat there, stunned. Vanessa reached toward him, trying to grasp his arm. But he pulled away. "You said he offered to help," Dan said, disbelief thick in his voice. "You said he insisted." She opened her mouth, then closed it, looked at me, eyes wide with something between fury and desperation. I didn't move. I didn't soften. Dan finally stood. "I need some air," he muttered and walked away without another word. Vanessa stood frozen in place, her carefully curated world starting to crumble in real time. Then she snapped. "You always do this. You make everything about you." I stepped forward, not in anger, but with purpose, close enough for only her to hear. I whispered, "You made me invisible. I'm just showing everyone the ghost you built." Then I turned to the table. Relatives I had paid for, bailed out, tolerated, people sipping expensive wine they didn't pay for, smiling with borrowed grace. "Let me make this clear," I said, voice even. "I'm not your ATM anymore. Not your backup plan. Not your silent punching bag." Dad rose to his feet, voice shaking. "You're humiliating us." I met his eyes. "No, you did that yourselves." I looked at them all one final time. No more explanations. No more pleas. Then I turned and walked out. No one followed. I didn't scream. I didn't post revenge stories online. I didn't go on a rant. I just went silent, completely. Not out of shock, not out of weakness, but out of clarity. By the next morning, I had shut down every payment channel I controlled. Utilities? Cancelled. My mom's health insurance? Terminated. All wedding-related vendors and pending deposits? Revoked. I went through every subscription, Netflix, Prime, Spotify, Apple Music, and removed their access. Auto-renewals? Disabled. Shared logins? Deleted. It wasn't loud. It was methodical. Like closing tabs on a browser I should have exited years ago. Then came the second wave, the soft one. The kind that dresses manipulation in sentiment. Vanessa sent a long, strangely tender message. Look, we were stressed. I know it looked bad. Can we just talk? Then another. You blew things out of proportion. But I forgive you. I didn't respond. I didn't argue. I didn't explain. I deleted the entire thread permanently. Like all the others. By day 3, the phone had gone quiet. No texts. No guilt-ridden voicemails. The silence was louder than any shouting match we'd ever had. For them, that quiet meant confusion. For me, it meant peace. In the family group chat, someone finally typed, "Well, if he won't answer, that's on him." It was a cousin I hadn't seen in 6 years. Day 4 brought something different, panic. Real panic. Mom can't get her prescription filled. The wedding site's down. What happened to the registry? Try logging into the family Prime account. It says access revoked. I never replied. For the first time in years. I wasn't the one left wondering. I was the one unreachable. That same week, I signed a lease across town. A smaller building, tucked away on a quieter street. No one knew my name. No family nearby. No shared hallway memories. Just fresh walls and silence. I bought new furniture. Not because I needed it. I had a perfectly good sofa and bed. But because I didn't want to bring a single chair from the past into this new space. Everything from before stayed behind. I didn't block anyone. I just didn't update them. No new address. No breadcrumb texts. No vague hints like, I just need some space. I didn't ask for space. I took it. I kept my old number. Technically. But I turned off the phone they all had saved in their contacts. I bought a new SIM card. Activated a separate phone. And gave that number to exactly 3 places, my bank, my landlord, and my 2-factor authentication apps. It wasn't hiding. It was a surgical separation. Clean and deliberate. On day 5, my dad called. I let it ring. Watched the screen light up with his name. Watched it fade to voicemail. He left a message. "You're no hero, Alex. You'll bury yourself the same way your grandfather did." Then another one, a few minutes later. "Running away like a boy. A man doesn't disappear. A man fights." I listened to both. Once. Then deleted them and never played another. They didn't understand, and maybe they never would. This had never really been about the dinner. Or even the public humiliation. It was about something far deeper. The fact that, for the first time in my entire life, I didn't come back. Every other time, I'd blow up, go quiet, disappear for a few days. Then I'd return, usually with a transfer. Or an apology. Or silence. I'd show up for family dinners. Contribute to the bills. Fix what they'd broken. I was their parachute. Their financial first responder. Their silent backup plan. This time, I left. And I locked every door behind me. The messages changed. The tone sharpened. Vanessa accused me of destroying the most important moment of her life. She said I had sabotaged her happiness. Mom tried a softer approach. Family isn't perfect, but it's still family. My response? None. I wasn't seeking revenge. I wasn't looking for drama or payback. I simply did what I should have done years ago, cut off access. And then, I kept living. Mornings became quiet. No "can you send a quick transfer?" Texts over breakfast. No sudden calls asking me to Venmo someone for brunch I hadn't been invited to. No guilt-laced reminders that I hadn't checked in with people who hadn't checked in with me in years. Lunch breaks weren't spent fielding passive-aggressive texts about what it means to be a good son. Weekends weren't consumed by unpaid errands. Posed as family bonding. I had my time back. And I had my mind back. For the first time in years. I didn't expect gratitude. I didn't chase approval. I didn't care if they liked me anymore. Because finally, I owed them nothing. And they owed me nothing. It was an unknown number. I almost let it ring out. But something told me to pick up. "Look," the voice began, hesitant but familiar. It was Dan. "I know you probably never want to hear from us again. But something's happened." Every part of me screamed to hang up. To protect the peace I had finally earned. But I stayed on the line. "Vanessa opened a credit line, in your name," he said. "I only found out because the bank called me. Thinking I was her husband. She used old paperwork, something from years ago, said you were aware, that I was in on it, that you approved. There it was, the final betrayal. I didn't shout, I didn't panic, I got dressed, grabbed my ID, and walked straight into the bank. No lawyer, no drama, just the kind of cold, silent rage that doesn't burn, it freezes. Controlled, focused, surgical. The account manager, a woman maybe in her 30s, scanned my ID and clicked through multiple screens. Her eyes darted back and forth between documents, her brows tightening. This isn't a clerical mistake, Mr. Carter, she said. These are coordinated, deliberate actions, fraudulent. There's no ambiguity here. I nodded once, calm, unmoved. Vanessa had taken out a personal loan, opened a small business credit card under the name of Carter Events, applied for not one, but 2 COVID relief grants, all tied to my credit and identity. The total amount, just under $18. I signed the complaint. The investigation officially began. And then, as if the universe was directing some cruel drama, my mother walked into the bank. She stopped in the doorway like she'd seen a ghost. Her eyes locked with mine. She approached slowly, like a child walking across a frozen lake. Please, she whispered, don't go through with this. I didn't say anything. I let her speak. You don't know the full story, she said. Vanessa didn't mean to hurt you. She panicked. You disappeared. She thought you'd moved on. She was going to pay it back. We just needed help to get started. She committed fraud, I replied. My voice was level, no edge, just the truth. She's family. Alex. I looked her in the eyes. Exactly. And you all used that word like a weapon. Her eyes welled up. You don't do this to family. I didn't flinch. You did it to me first. 3 days later, Vanessa was arrested in a boutique salon, halfway through getting her nails done, her expensive curls pinned to one side. She was handcuffed in front of clients, one of whom filmed the entire thing. I wasn't there. I didn't need to be. The video hit TikTok, over 40,000 views in one night. The caption read, "Bride to be arrested for identity theft. Used her own brother's name for $18,000 fraud." In the video, Vanessa clutched a designer purse, one she had bought with my money, and screamed, "This is a mistake," while officers escorted her out. Her voice cracked with desperation. But the damage was already done. The headlines followed. Family betrayal. Sibling scam ends in public arrest. Brother reports $18 fraud by bride-to-be sister. I didn't post a thing. Didn't tweet. Didn't even leave a comment. But people tagged me anyway. "Isn't this your sister? You stayed quiet for years. She thought you'd stay quiet forever. Quiet brother. Loud karma." Dan called again. He officially called off the engagement. His message was simple. "You were right. I didn't know half of it. I'm sorry I ever doubted you." I didn't respond. I didn't need to. Weeks later, I returned to the bank to finalize the closure of every lingering tie from my old life. At the end of the paperwork, the clerk asked, "Emergency contact?" I smiled faintly. "None." She hesitated for a second. "You can leave it blank, if you'd like." "Intentionally," I said. She nodded and typed. Outside, I noticed a familiar car parked across the street. The same one from childhood road trips. The same dent in the bumper. Same faded air freshener swinging from the mirror. My father sat behind the wheel. Slouched. Engine off. Hands still. He didn't get out. Didn't wave. Just stared. Not angry. Not even remorseful. Just small. I walked right past him. Didn't look. Didn't nod. Didn't acknowledge his presence. I didn't owe him recognition. Not anymore. And here's the truth I wish someone had told me sooner. I wasn't weak for staying all those years. I wasn't stupid. I was loyal. I was useful. I was obedient. I was silent. And they loved that silence, because it gave them everything and cost them nothing. But silence isn't loyalty. And love doesn't ask you to disappear. And when I finally broke the silence, not with yelling, not with threats, but with boundaries, they didn't know how to handle it. They always said I was dramatic when I spoke up. So this time, I didn't speak. I acted. I left. Not as a victim. Not as a son. Not as a brother. Not theirs.